Okay, welcome to Masterpieces Theater. Today we're going to be explaining the synoptic problem with a little help from our friends. As you know, the synoptic problem has a few different solutions, generally based in some sort of reasonable fact, except, beyond the idea that they were all divinely inspired. True source hypothesis. The fair, which should be fair, gold, good acre law, but that's unbiased. And there's a reason. See, so we have a little help from our friends. I've asked Q to join us, but since there is no Q, we couldn't find an actor to play him. And originally, Mark was going to be played by Spider-Man. But there are two reasons for that. First, the only Spider-Man that there ever was and ever will be is Tobey Maguire. Since he has moved on, there is no more Spider-Man. There is no more Spider-Man. And number two, my son has lost his Spider-Man toy, so I couldn't use it. So we've asked the Power Ranger to play Mark. Now, Mark comes first. He's all about doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's hanging out. He's writing his story. He's maybe collecting some traditions and stuff. But generally, Mark is here. Nothing behind Mark that's verifiable. Perfect. Matthew is going to be played by Batman. Maybe it's because I think Matthew is probably a rich guy, tax collector and all. Sorry. And, well, that's really about all, sorry. So, Batman's here. Now, Luke will be played by Superman. And that will be explained much later. So, let's move on. So we have Mark. Mark is doing what he's supposed to be doing. Kicking tail, taking names, making up names, stuff like that. Okay? So Mark needs no help. He is the lone Power Ranger. I think that's who this guy is. He's like Mr. Captain Power Ranger dude. So, he's there. Spider-Man would have been better because he's not really part of the Avengers, unless Marvel has to make more money, but, lone guy, one of the first superheroes, he's there. Okay. Batman comes in. Hi. I'm the Gospel of Matthew. Wears a mask. Why? Because more than likely the mask hides a guy, say a Didymus. Alright, anyway. So he tries to knock Mark off. And he reigns supreme. Yay! 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 He does, he reigns supreme. He's out there killing people and hiding in his bat cave. And see, now this is him up here. He does not need Q. He does not need superpowers from an unknown world or anything like that. He is just the Gospel of Matthew. Whee! Okay. Now, as you know, Matthew and Luke are pretty good friends. Hey, buddy, let's hang out. I mean, it's not like you use all my stuff all the time anyway. Oh. Okay, so Superman, Luke, is writing, and he kind of gets arrogant. He says, we really don't need Batman anymore. I'm going to be the only gospel there ever was. So he says, Batman, let's have a seat. Okay, so Batman's sitting. He says, come here, Mark. Okay, so tell me your stories. Oh, so he starts writing them down. He says, oh, that's nifty. Okay, you got good stuff. You're kind of crazy, but I'm going to have to moderate you somewhat. And there's some shared stuff here, but I'm going to kind of add my own poetic license here. And you know what? I no longer need any of you. So he kicks him out, and he becomes super gospel. Luke takes over Matthew and Mark, adds a few of his little details, a la Brandon Ruth style. Right? 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 Okay. Now, that's not the only thing that's going on in the gospel scene. Yes, there's a gospel scene right next to the disco scene. It's pretty awesome. So anyway, Luke is here. He's really, really big because he's 8, both Mark and Matthew, or at least he thinks he has, right? But then there's this other guy, John. John will be played by, and this is why Spider-Man was important, Venom. Well, think about it. Excuse me. Venom's nuts. John's a little out there. Venom's from outer space. John's a little out there. And Venom has some connection to Spider-Man. He takes on Spider-Man. He morphs Spider-Man. And while there's a little trace of Spider-Man around, it's really a whole new creature. Like John. That's right. I think that John has some literary dependence upon Mark. So, John's here. He's there by the Venom. Raw. It's really a sick-looking thing. But the kids love it. Alright. So you have John. You have Luke, who claims to be the gospel. Superpowers and all. Mark. And Batman. Now, that's a synoptic problem. Except, you have also the 5th gospel. Yep, the 5th gospel. Revelation. Revelation is perhaps written because it includes so much. It actually includes some of the references from Mark, some of the same phrases. But I'll go into that in my dissertation, I hope. But it includes a lot of those scripture references too. And so, in my opinion, it is, well, it's the gospel that tries to take over everything else and, like Luke, pretends to be all that you need. That's the book of Revelation. And that's a synoptic problem as presented by Masterpieces Theater.